be happier with. Yes, that was the creation of Kisses Kill. I should say I was in another band earlier with two of the guys from Voodoo Highway, Dave and Graham, which was, again, a very heavy kind of industrial. We did an album that was really highly acclaimed, and not to toot my horn, just people seem to really enjoy it. And
toot your horn, man. Toot it.
Yeah, I try. I'm getting better at it. That Canadian side of me keeps me humble. Then, I've been living in Seattle now for 10 years, so I'm starting to get a little more braggy. And then we put together a remix album with guys like Reese Fulber from Frontline Assembly and Steve White from KMSM and Jim Davies from Prodigy, Pete Cross from Hickory Pill, Kieran Pepper from Prodigy. We have this killer remix album, and it's been on the shelf now for 7 years, and I don't know if it's going to see the light of day, and it's no one's fault. What happened was it's the inherent problem of being in a band politics. I'm sure people have talked about that on your show as well. It's hard to negotiate. One guy wants to do one thing, another guy wants to do another thing. I'm stuck in the middle. And basically, the project just kind of fizzled out. We still work together every day. So it wasn't like the band broke up. But, we were sitting on this remix album with these A-list remixers on it. And it was a little depressing for me. So this is probably around 2009 now. It was a little depressing to release that. So that was another reason that I decided to kind of just, I think I'm just going to try this on my own. Because it's much easier, Spider, I'm sure you know what I'm saying here. It's much easier to just do it by yourself than to have to coordinate other people or be involved with other people. So, yeah. And don't get me wrong, I've been in bands all my life, and I've toured and done all of that stuff for many, many moons, and it's a fantastic it's like a wolf pack, being in a band and being able to play off other people and what they're doing, and that's a totally different mode of musical expression, but yeah, this is why I started kind of doing this on my own. And for the present day, basically.
Well, I don't know if you mentioned this before because how bad the connection is. It's my connection, it's not you guys, it's just me. Okay. How did you get from being a solo artist into this movie into these creativity? How did you find your way into? I know you said you went to school for a bit. Is that how you got into all this? Into these shows?
Yeah, that was the start. So luckily, and anybody else that's listening at home, that I'm trying to maybe give a few pointers out to people if they're interested in doing composition for film and television and all that, or if you're in a band, because you can make a lot of money in film and television if you license your music, but we'll get into that in a second. So basically, it was Brian and Dave and I, we started the company right after school. The first thing we did was we found a location. We found a studio loft, and we set up all of our equipment, and those blue Macs were the home, the G3, blue G3, were just new at the time. So home recording was so this is 1999, 2000. So it was all a new thing. And so we were kind of on the cutting edge of people that were striking out and doing this kind of on their own. We were also quite young, too. I was only 20 at the time, 21. And so we had zero experience and all of this equipment, and just basically we just kind of had balls to go out, and we just started making cold calls to advertising agencies. That's mainly where we started. Advertising is a wonderful way to get your foot in the door and get some stuff on your reel to show other people. It's quick and it's easy. Like a film takes 6 months to a year, an ad you can do in a week or two. So we started off mainly in advertising, and we did some Samsung ads and a couple other random things. Luckily, as well, some of the veteran composers in Toronto threw us a bone. Like they had some extra work, and they saw that we were starting out, and so they kind of took us under their wing and gave us the opportunity. So after about 6 months, we had our first reel with about 5 things on it. Then we started making cold calls and calling ad agencies, TV production companies, anybody that could get us work. And we started going in and doing presentations, which totally sucks when you are a sensitive artist type who doesn't want to sell yourself, you know. And we were young men with no experience, so quite nervous, you know. But ultimately, we just kind of kept doing that, and that gave way to more and more connections. And then what happened was one of the places that we were doing a bunch of toy commercials through, they were a production company in Toronto, and they actually decided to do a reality TV show called Rich Bride, Poor Bride. And so we were fortunate enough, I think it still airs in the States here on the WE network. I'm still getting residuals from it, so I think it still airs. So that was our first shot into actual episodic television. So as you can see, like as I'm telling the story here, you can see it's just you just put one foot in front of the other, take one step at a time, build it up. I mean, we've been doing this for 16 years now, which is why we are where we are. It's not an overnight thing. I also wouldn't recommend anybody do this ever. This is I'm speaking about all of the kind of the happy parts. But there were years where we weren't eating, where we weren't sleeping, depression. It's not fun at all. I remember we were wondering, like, are we even going to be doing this time next year? Like, where's the next paycheck coming from? Dave and I actually lived at the studio for 3 years, which sucks. I would never recommend that. Because you're trying to sleep and somebody's tracking drums right next to you. I mean, it was a nightmare.
Wow.
So typically when I have young up-and-coming composers that want to talk to me about kind of, you know, do you have any suggestions? My first suggestion is just quit right now. Quit. Okay? And somebody told me that, too, when I was starting out. Don't be stupid. Just quit. Don't do this. And I knew in my soul and in my heart that this was what I was put here to do, you know? And so I didn't listen to them. And so any young composer that speaks to me and I tell them, don't do this, if they're really meant to be doing it, they know it. They already know it in their heart. They don't have a choice, and they won't listen to me. But hopefully I can save somebody who shouldn't be doing this 5 years of their life, you know, because it's really depressing. So then we got the Rich Bride, Poor Bride. That led to some other reality shows. Then I can't really remember how the first animated show that I got was a massive hit. And so again, so I'm a big hockey fan, okay? And in hockey, there's a thing called puck luck.
Yeah, I'm a hockey fan.
It applies. What's your favorite team?
Red Wings.
Well, they're good. I mean, I can't hate on the Red Wings, man. They're consistent. Mm-hmm. I'm a Canucks fan, and my wife and I got caught in that riot in 2011 and stuff. My heart broke. Yeah, I'm never going to recover. We were rinkside for Game 7. Anyways, she wouldn't want me to get into that. That's the story I always tell at dinner parties, and she's always like, shut up. You're going on. Okay, so in hockey, there's puck luck, right? And in all sports, there's an element of luck. And it just means you can have all the skill in the world, but if that puck doesn't bounce off Buddy's elbow and then dude's skate and then Buddy's shoulder and go in the net, you know, you're not going to score the goals. And so I recognize that my career has been just filled with luck. I mean, it's definitely skill and being in the right place at the right time, but so much luck. So this first cartoon, the very first cartoon that we got to write the music for, ended up being like a massive hit, and that was called Total Drama Island, and it spawned a whole franchise. And it was a massive hit here on Cartoon Network in the States.
Nice.
And I still think there's even a spin-off show that we did called The Redonkulous Race. And I think it's still going. It's been on the air for about 10 years now. And it's one of those ones that they kind of keep bringing it back and putting new characters in it and reinventing it and stuff like that. So, again, super lucky. But what that meant was because we had this massive hit, we suddenly got put on the radar of all of the animation places in Toronto. And so they started calling us to pitch to do the music for their shows. And because there's 4 of us pitching or demoing, it's typical when you get a show, you're one of maybe 3 or 4 different composers that are all demoing for the same job. And then they just pick the one they like the best. But the bonus is that because there's 4 of us, that means we often are able to do 4 different pitches. And so we have 4 times the chance of winning. And so we've just started getting on a roll where everything we were pitching, we were just getting these shows. That kind of led us down the path of Daniel Tiger, which we started working on that in 2010, I believe, or 2011. We're working on it for a long time. And Daniel Tiger, again, very lucky that that's a massive international hit. So that opened even more doorways. So you can see, I guess the theme of the entire career is just snowballing. It is all about just snowball, that snowball effect,
Right.
And if you just keep at it. Perseverance is a massive part of it too, and not giving up when things seem like everything seems like it's the end of the world and everything. So yeah, and that's kind of where we are now. And as I was saying before, we do Paw Patrol and Daniel Tiger, and as it turns out, those, from what I understand, Paw Patrol is the biggest animated show in the world right now. And Daniel Tiger is like number 2 or number 3 or something like that. So once again, just luck of the draw,
Right.
Yeah, Paw Patrol is actually the second cartoon that we scored starring dogs that drive cars. So
yeah, we see those the Paw Patrol toys and things at one of our local bookstores. There's like shelves and shelves and shelves of them. Yes, I love hearing that. But again, it's like, it's funny because when we demoed for Paw Patrol, I was just like, oh, another show about dogs driving cars, whatever. And, I think it's a really great show, but, we've worked on shows that I thought were just incredibly exciting and all this. And I was like, oh, it looks okay, whatever, and didn't think much of it. And it turns out it's the biggest hit we've ever worked on. So you just never know what's going to be a hit and when then we've worked on shows we thought were going to be massive hits and they just got shelved basically. So you never know what you're going to get, So back to I was saying earlier about licensing music for film and television, which I gotta say, if there are bands listening or artists or what musicians listening, I gotta say that it's a massive opportunity to make really good money. Is finding some of these guys. Most of them are in Los Angeles. But we had my other band Triptaka had a song in Ghost Rider 2. And we made some pretty good bank. I mean, I don't want to get into figures on the air, but we made some pretty good bank on that just for doing nothing, for just having a song, I know a good friend of mine, Pete Crossman, who's in the band Victory Pill. Victory Pill was some former Prodigy guys, and they're based in England. So Pete's a very close friend of mine, and he had a song in CSI, and he's still getting paid for that, every time it airs. And he made a lot of money from that, which is amazing. He also just did the recent Ghostbusters trailer